I mean, I don't know, 80, what is it, 40% of the short position is one bank? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And at some point, someone's going to ask for the silver, and they won't be able to make delivery. And then you're just going to have the market go bananas.
Chris and Adrian, what are your thoughts on that Reg Howe piece?
Reg is elaborating on a point he's been making for years, and that Adrian particularly has been emphasizing in recent weeks, and that is that the world gold supply is vastly oversupplied. I mean, Adrian has estimated that there may be 50 or 100 ounces of claims to gold around the world for every ounce of real metal that exists. This is how the scheme works. The scheme has worked only by creating imaginary reserves of gold, paper gold. I mean, on planet Earth today, there's gold, and then there's gold in quotation marks, and there's silver in quotation marks. I can sell you infinite amounts of gold in quotation marks and silver in quotation marks. I just give you a piece of paper and say, here, I owe you this gold, I owe you this silver. And as long as people are content to believe that gold in quotation marks and silver in quotation marks is gold and silver, then this scheme will continue. We are trying to wise up the world.
Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, it's the strange nature of gold is that it's not much industrial use for it. Its main use is to store wealth, and of course that can be done in your own personal vault, or it can be done in someone else's vault. And when it's done in someone else's vault, you have to trust them that they actually have it. And this has been the major issue, is that gold is being sold supposedly in someone else's vault, and they're keeping it for you, but you really don't know whether it exists or not. And from the numbers I've calculated, there's a large amount which doesn't exist, and it's on the OTC alone, I believe it's something like 30 to 50,000 tons of gold, which has been sold, which does not exist. And to put that in perspective, that's equal to the outstanding reserves of gold yet to be mined in the world. So that's a heck of a short position if you've sold forward all the remaining gold yet to be mined in the world. So what's going to happen as people start to ask for this gold that's meant to be held for them? The paper supply is going to disappear because it's going to be exposed as not real gold. So the actual supply will then be the physical gold. And so the amount of available gold will shrink very quickly. And that, of course, will drive the price to phenomenal levels.
Eric, the logic of these gold swaps that have been going on for years is that, on Monday, I imagine that the State Department takes the British ambassador to Fort Knox and lets him in and shows him all the gold bars and says, look, here's your gold. And on Tuesday, they take the French ambassador in and let him look at the same gold bars and, say, here's your gold. And on Wednesday, they take the German ambassador in and show him his gold. And on Thursday, they take the Italian ambassador in and show him his gold. And on Friday, they take the Spanish ambassador in and say, oh, look, this is your gold. And they all think it's their own gold, and it's not. The Europeans have swapped their gold with the United States, and they have sold the European gold into the market in Europe to help the United States suppress the price, thinking, supposedly, that the United States is holding their gold safely for them, if not in Fort Knox, then underneath the New York Federal Reserve Bank. But that gold is almost surely oversubscribed by a very high factor.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, because we obviously have people from Asia that listen in, and they accumulate gold over there quite regularly, as you know. And from India, we have a big audience. They want to accumulate gold. We've had gold move from $250. We're around $1,100 and change today as we do this. I'm just curious from the three of you, what are your thoughts? What do you see going forward for gold in 2010? For those who want to accumulate physical gold, should they just keep buying the dips? And what do you see as maybe some price levels that we might achieve? And I know I'll start with you, Bill. I'm sure you're going to be very enthusiastic. Let's go ahead and start with you.
Well, I've been the worst on a yearly basis, I suppose, but Gold Rush 21, our big conference in the Yukon in August of 2005, I said it will take a price of $3,000 to $5,000 an ounce to clear the market. That was at $436 then, and it's $1,100 and change now. So I'm very confident about that. It might be too conservative, but I would say, based on this year, we ought to see about $1,500 before the year's out, and I think that can be done easily.
Chris?
Oh, I think if you look at the gold chart for the last decade, Eric, it screams by the dips. What it doesn't tell you is what the politics of the world is going to be in the future, and that's the real iffy situation there. My advice to people for years has been, yes, buy gold and silver, and then try to find a safe planet to keep it on. And when you find one, would you let me know what it is? We just don't know how governments are going to react to their loss of control of the financial system when the fraud is realized. As for a gold price, they will suppress the price as best they can as long as they have disorting that they can do to suppress it with, and as long as the derivatives markets hold up. But looking farther into the future, 5, 10, 20 years, I don't think we have the slightest idea what a free market gold price is, because it's been many years since we had one. I suspect that if we did have a free market gold price, when the governments were out of the market and the derivatives fraud was realized and gold was free to reflect the vast money creation around the world of the last few decades, gold very well might be priced in the tens of thousands of dollars. This is really a political imponderable. I don't know how the politics of the world is going to work out. I am just convinced that gold is scarce and precious and in much shorter supply than the authorities pretend.
Adrian, what do you see for gold in 2010?
I think there's going to be a very big move, and what leads me to that conclusion is that there's unusual things happened in the gold market recently, which we've never seen before. On 27th of November, gold reached a high of $11.95, and then the cartel tried to do their usual thing and force liquidation, and they took the price down $65 from that high to a low of $11.30 on that day. Amazingly, gold rallied and came back for a $12 down on the day. The volume on the COMEX on that day was an all-time record high, 403,000 contracts. The open interest was 528,000 contracts. So that means that 80% of the open interest changed hands on that day. And in fact, if you look at the numbers 4 days before that day, volume had increased by almost 70%. So I think a large part of the long position changed hands at that point. It was a major watershed, and I think it went into hands that are very strong holders, and it may even be that we're talking sovereign countries here that are starting to buy gold. So something happened that is very unusual, and we reached a high of $1,217 on December 3rd. Open interest was 530,000 contracts. When we reached the low recently of 1075 on December 22nd, the open interest was 499,000 contracts. So there's been no liquidation in this market. The cartel has been trying. They haven't managed to reduce the open interest by any significant amount. That is very unusual. We haven't seen it before. So that's what tells me that this market mechanics has changed, and I think the cartel has now got people on the other side of the trade who are not going to sell. That means they've got to come up with some gold. And as we've been discussing for the last half an hour, that's going to be a major, major challenge. So I think gold is going to go very much higher in the near term. So, yes, it's a good policy to accumulate, and the quicker the better, because I think the move might be quite violent.
Let me ask the three of you in closing here, just one final question. Adrian, you bring up the shorts. You have the commercial shorts so heavy on gold. I think all-time record levels are close, but most likely all-time record levels. They really were not able to cover so far. And one could argue we're either going to achieve that through a downside move, in which they will cover, or we'll just start to run away to the upside. Do you think, Adrian, Chris, Bill, I just want to throw this out to the three of you, with regards to all these derivatives, with regards to all these paper mechanisms that have been used to artificially suppress the price of gold and keep it lower than it should be, I know they can cash settle all of those. Are they just going to cash settle those when the time comes, and will that set off the manic phase?
Yes, I believe the people talk about a default on the COMEX. I don't think you'll actually see a default as such. It will turn into a cash-only market. There'll be no futures element to it, which has happened before in the past with silver during the situation with the Hunt brothers. But yes, I mean, they're going to have to deal with just cash-only transactions. And then the market will be driven much more by physical supply than all this paper supply. And the price will take off to unimaginable levels, as we try to balance the actual supply with the price.
Chris?
Well, we got to remember the government remains sovereign, and the government is becoming more and more authoritarian. I've long thought that there will be a major